My name is Jerry DeLauro. I'm the Senior Vice President of Personal Insurance here at Hub International, and I'm going to be your host for the next 10 minutes. Welcome to the OAO webinar series on Group Home and Auto. I'm just putting up a quick agenda in terms of what I'm going to cover for the next 10 minutes or so. Here's a picture of me. This is actually what I look like. This is my LinkedIn profile. And also you'll see my information in terms of how to reach me. So after this webinar, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to either call me or to contact me by email. Over the next 10 minutes or so, what I'm going to cover for you is a little bit about the OAO Group Home and Auto program. I'm going to talk about some practical tips for protecting your car. I'm also going to talk about home and snow. As you listen to this, we're going to be going through the winter, and I thought it would be timely that I share some information about home and snow. And lastly, I'm going to share with you some tips about being ready should an emergency strike, and specifically talking about what an emergency preparedness kit should look like. Let's go. How Hub helps members of the OAO. So we've been partners with the OAO now for the better part of 4 years. And what you have available to you as a member of the OAO is access to the Hub OAO Group Home and Auto program. What does that mean? Well, it really means 4 things. Number one, we work for you. As the broker partner for the OAO, our job really is to help you get the best price and coverage available on home and auto. We have expertise. We absolutely can help in terms of claims counseling. We're also very easy to deal with. If you prefer not to use any paper, so do we. We also offer online quoting. When it comes to insuring, it's everything from your car to your house, but it's everything in between. It can be a truck, it can be a condo, if you rent a place, or if you are renting a place to someone, we can also cover that. In terms of pricing, we absolutely offer great pricing. So we have worked out with 2 carriers in particular, Aviva Canada and Economical Canada, discounts on the home and the car. And in addition to that, you may qualify for conviction-free. If you bundle your home and auto, you can qualify for what's called a multi-line discount. If you have young persons in your household that are driving and have taken driver's training, they may also qualify for what's called a driver's training discount. The discounts that you see on the screen are not all the discounts that are available to you, but probably the more common ones that members of the OAO qualify for when they do call us. Lastly, there are some other benefits. We're very flexible in terms of payment plans. As a member of the OAO, being part of the group program, there are no service fees, and the information that I'm going to present does extend to spouse and dependents who live with you. And lastly, this program is serviced by a great team of people, 20 people here in Oakville. So that's really the program at a high level. I'm going to get into a little bit more about some tips, but at the end of this, please, there'll be some information that will direct you in terms of how you can contact us to learn more about the group home and auto program. Protecting your car practical tips. So all of us, or most of us, I should say, drive, and oftentimes we forget about, the fact that there are unfortunately some folks out there that are looking to either cause damage to our cars or to even steal our cars. Almost everyone has a car, and I think we often take for granted the fact that we do need to take precautions to protect our cars. I didn't know this, but I was recently doing some research and discovered that on average, there are 200 cars stolen a day in Canada. That's a lot of cars. Many of us invest in our cars, meaning we buy cars that are nice, that have a lot of features that are for us fun to drive, but at the same time could be targets for thieves, unfortunately. And they're not just about how we get to and from work, but it's how we get to the cottage. It's how we get our kids to hockey practice, et cetera, et cetera. What I do want you to know that Hub is here and ready to help in the event that your car is broken into or stolen. So if we are your broker and you do run into an unfortunate situation, you can call us and we will help guide you through the claims process. However, I do want to cover off some practical things that you can do to prevent yourself or your family from experiencing theft or damage. So what you see here on this slide is a graphic that was produced by the Insurance Bureau of Canada, and what it shows are 10 practical tips that all of us can take in terms of protecting our vehicles. Number one, ensure your doors are always locked and key is in your pocket. And this is an obvious one, but at the same time, sometimes we do, run into the store, we run into a friend's home, and we leave the car unlocked. It's so important that you leave your car locked. Nowadays, most new cars have what's called keyless entry, so it's quite easy just to sort of tap on the handle and lock that door. So my advice is to do that, take that extra second, and just make sure your car's locked. Always park in well-lit areas. This is one that my dad always impressed upon me, especially when I started driving, and it makes so much sense for the safety of your car, but also your own personal safety. Never leave money in plain sight, number 3. And number 5 to me are very similar. Put shopping bags and other parcels in the trunk. Again, don't give a thief or someone that's out there wandering the mall parking lot a reason to take a look at your car and perhaps break a window. So definitely put stuff in the trunk. Put it out of sight, out of mind. Always roll up your car windows, except, of course, if you have pets. If you do, please keep those windows rolled down. But if you are parking the car and going to the ball game or going into work, it's important that you roll up those windows. Again, you don't want to give a thief any opportunity to get into your car. If you're one of those folks that has a GPS, put that out of sight. I know it's one of those things that it can be a pain, to sort of take out of the glove box and put back up on the dash. But again, don't give a thief a reason to break your window to steal that, $80, $90, $100 GPS. Those GPSs have come down quite a bit in price now, and I would say it's probably just good just to put it away. This is an interesting one, number 7, which is keep your vehicle registration certificate and proof of insurance on you. I think like a lot of folks are probably guilty like me of putting that in your glove box. What I would recommend instead is taking a picture, both of your pink slip and of your registration. And the good news is in 2018 at some point, the government of Ontario is going to allow for what's called pink card, electronic pink card. And that's going to make your life a lot easier, meaning it's something that you can actually have right on your phone. So if you think of the Apple Wallet, there probably will be a place in your wallet for your pink card. Number 8, take electronics, including your cell phone, with you. It's obvious, but oftentimes, like other things, we just run into the office or we run into the store, and we often leave our phones plugged in, unplug them. Number 9, don't leave your car running while unattended. So I'm thinking about the winter time and it's cold, and perhaps your garage is kind of jammed up with stuff where you don't park inside anyways. And the temptation, to start the car and run back in is pretty high. But my advice to you is to stay in the car and warm up the car rather than leave it, because there could be somebody who's, just out there walking around, or perhaps is targeting your car, and they might start to figure out your pattern, and you're not making it, you're making it easy for them, essentially. So please don't leave your car running while unattended. And this is an interesting number 10 here, which is if parking in the same parking lot often, be sure to park in different spots each day. This is a tough one for me. I like to park in the same spot every day here at Hub, but I can see obviously that if you are doing that, perhaps that someone who is targeting your car might start to get some ideas. So if anything, just try to take that off the table. So I hope these practical tips about protecting your car are handy, and this graphic is super easy to find. You can find it online at the IBC. I want to now talk about understanding how snow and ice impact your policy, your homeowner's policy. So again, as we're working through the winter, it's inevitable that it's going to snow, and it's also inevitable, depending on where you live in the province and maybe how the weather, sort of turns from snow to rain, rain to snow, that you might start to get some ice buildup. What I want you to know is that in the event of some kind of a snow catastrophe, you're generally covered. Most people are on their homeowner's policy. But really what most insurers and brokers recommend or ask that you do is to try to keep that snow as clear as possible. And we're not saying to go out on top of your roof and to shovel the snow. We're not. What we're saying is just to make sure that if the snow does seem to be causing a bit of an issue in terms of load, that you address that, and you can hire someone to do that. If you have a cottage that's remote, I would highly recommend that you talk to someone to keep an eye on your cottage, and even to go and remove as much snow as possible, because it can happen. And what we tend to see, the last couple of years, is that we're not getting as much snow, and there are pockets of the province that continue to get snow consistently. But when it does come quite hard, and it does accumulate. And it's important to know that if it does accumulate, that it can, some roofs are not built structurally to support heavy snow loads. The sort of fourth question there on the slide, which says, when the snow melts, there will probably be flooding. Am I covered for flood damage? And this is more of a thing that we tend to see in March and April, and even into May. And what you need to know is, if water kind of comes into your house, what we call seepage through the windows, you're not always covered. It kind of depends on the policy. It depends on the company. Some are broad, some aren't broad. And we can help you sort of understand what your options there. But really, what we want to remind folks is that what you want to do is just prevent anything like that from happening. So you want to prevent flooding. Be sure to shovel the snow, chip the ice, and essentially just clear the path. That's really the advice that insurance companies and brokers would provide to clients, is just try to make the snow a non-issue for all intents and purposes. But like I said, if you have any further questions about your policy, don't hesitate to reach out to myself or to call us here in Oakville, and you'll see the number for the Oakville office right at the end, and we can answer those questions for you. Okay. I want to talk about an emergency preparedness kit, and this is, a topic that I don't think gets a lot of airplay and a lot of discussion. And I was recently reading a survey that was commissioned by an insurance company, RSA Canada, and what they discovered is that 57% of Canadians, so we'll say 60% more or less, are kind of unprepared for a winter emergency. So again, this webinar is being shown over the winter, and it's something we often overlook. We don't tend to think that emergencies can happen, but like I said, we are seeing more and more the trend is for these heavy, sort of snow days, which can, lead to power loss and outage, and that can put all of us in a bit of a jam. The majority of Canadians that were surveyed in this particular survey who have experienced a winter-related emergency said they wish they had prepared an emergency bag. So it's one of those things where it's like, oh man, I wish I was ready for this, and we often overlook that. As you can see from this graphic, you don't need a lot, but you do need some key things. And most of these things are other things that you probably have at home or easily can get access to. What I would say is think practical, but also functional. I have one of these in my house, and we keep it right in the front closet, right near the exit door. So if we have to leave the home quickly, we basically pick up the black duffel bag and out we go. We keep a lot of the items that you see here in a waterproof bag. So inside the duffel bag is another bag. Should that bag get wet, we don't want some of these items getting wet. We tend to think about this kind of a kit lasting sort of 24 hours, but probably 48 hours is an even better way to think about this. Once you do put it together and you can see all these items, what they are, I would suggest you kind of take a look at it every 6 months. So think about the times when you change the batteries in your alarm, daylight savings time, the times of the year where we change our clocks. That's a good time just to go in and say, right, is the water still good? Are the granola bars still good? If you packed a can of something, is that still good? The expiry on the batteries, et cetera, et cetera. So just something to think about. But it's pretty easy. Everyone needs water, so make sure you have plenty of water, and think about things that have a bit of a shelf life. Et cetera, et cetera. And last thing I would just say is if you have pets, they have different needs, and there aren't any images here for, what to bring for your pet, but I'm not a dog or a cat owner, but, think about what you need to make your pet, comfortable, for lack of a better word, should you have to leave your home. And I would just say, again, as an insurance broker, we're always thinking about how do we mitigate risk? How do we help our clients, be ready in the event of an emergency? And this is something that I would, sort of prompt people to think about. If you have time over the weekend coming up, just put the list together. The bag doesn't have to be perfect, but you'll be really glad that you have one should, the weather kind of turn for the worse and you have to kind of leave your home, unfortunately. So I will now move us forward basically to the end. And firstly, I want to say thank you for your time and attention today. If you are interested in a quote for your home or your auto, the phone number is there. How to find us online is there. And lastly, I would recommend or ask that you follow us on Facebook. We routinely do post information, tips, advice, things about insurance on our Facebook page. So you can follow us on Facebook, and I hope to hear from you soon. And I will say thank you again for your time.